Guys, welcome back to Strong Successful Male. So for today, I'm going to give this great comeback story that was sent from a subscriber. This is from a guy, a very young guy. He's only 18 years old, almost 19, a Marine. He just graduated boot camp. And he shares his story, how he truly had an awful, awful childhood. And yet somehow found the strength to persevere, turn all around, and now he is recently graduated from a boot camp as a Marine and kicking butt. And you're going to see in his story, guys, like I said, as a young kid, he was overweight, ruthlessly and mercilessly picked on by all the other kids, all these terrible things, crapped on by the teachers at school, all these things, and found the strength to start turning things around, self-improvement, all that. It is great. And I might add, at some point, a couple of years ago, he found my channel, other channels like that. That helped him as well. And it goes to show you guys, you can always turn things around if you really want to. And I'm really proud of him. That this story, the reason I'm sharing it and hearing this story is why I do this every day. This is why it really makes me feel good hearing that these young guys were in a bad place, heard the channel, I could help out in some way, and are definitely doing much, much better. But you're also going to see in the story, guys, he goes through his experience with different girls. And we all know how things are today in the dating scene. It's no different if you're 35 years old or 18. The girls are the girls, same thing. And he definitely has some bad experience with the girls as well, no surprise. And makes mistakes, but he's young. And at the end of the video here, I'm really going to give him a dose of reality with the one thing he needs to work on with the girls to hopefully help him out. Because he does make mistakes, and you guys are going to smack him just like I am, but, you know, you all mess up, and you gotta learn from your mistakes. And so, don't be too hard on him, even though it's tempting, because he was very young here, and as a lot of you guys made those mistakes. And hopefully, in the end, he'll watch this video, learn from his mistakes in that department, and continue on his journey of kicking butt in this world. So this is definitely a good video, and I think it's good for all you guys that want to hear a good success story. And I also think it's important for you parents to hear this story too, to understand what your kids could be going through behind the scenes, and you have no idea. And it's very important there. He says, Dear SSM, I want to write this story about my life with girls, as well as pulling yourself out of rock-bottom situations multiple times, but I've been quite busy with life. However, now I finally want to write my story to you to show that no matter what happens to you, even if you're young like myself, you can overcome what life throws at you. Yes, you can, my friend, and that's why I'm sharing your story. But yes, my story is about overcoming life's worst struggles and my failures with the females. Also, I thought my story would be a bit different than the other stories that come in because I'm only 18 years old. I'm in the middle of what you would call a Sodom and Gomorrah 2.0 world. So my perspective will be a bit different as I'm also a U.S. Marine. Well, congratulations, my man, for surviving boot camp or basic or whatever they call it. I'm not quite sure which one they officially call it. He says, I'll start off with the backstory here. I'm 18 years old, and a U.S. Marine living in probably the worst time to date as a man. Girls have never been more difficult, even the good ones are a bit of a headache. My younger years, till I was about 10 years old, were not too bad. I got picked on a lot when I was younger, but to me, I was a blissful kid. Eventually, everything changed when I got to middle school. Man, that shift from elementary school to middle school, what a change. Oh, man. I hated middle school, especially the 7th grade, that big shift, because elementary school for me was K through 6th grade. Then he went off to 7th grade for middle school. Man, oh man. As you know, when you get to middle school, all the hormones are running through your body, and you're really just trying to find your own place for high school, which in turn can be a starting point to the rest of your life. All I have to say is middle school was hell for me. My life from when I was about 11 years old to now has been struggle after struggle. I come from a good Christian family that's middle class, so my home life was never the problem. Like I said, though, my life had been up and down and has shaped me for who I am now. Yes, my man, our experiences shape us for who we are, for better or for worse. But it's how we decide to handle those situations really determine the direction our lives go. I was a late bloomer, so middle school was the weird in-between point. I saw all the jocks and athletic guys that hit puberty early and get all the girls. There were dudes already 6 feet tall in the 7th grade. Yeah, there were 6 foot tall dudes in my 7th grade. It was crazy. I myself played sports all throughout my life, but never was athletically talented. Especially in middle school, even though I was on the football team. He says, remember those jocks I talked about that hit puberty early and had good bodies? I was barely 5 foot tall, but 170 pounds, with bad haircut, high-pitched voice, glasses, and no sense of a good wardrobe. Dude, if you were 5 feet tall in the seventh grade, so I'm guessing seventh grade you were 12 or 13, and 170 pounds, that is very much overweight. And I'm sorry you were that way, went through that. But I'm going to say it right here because I can see, because this is really going to get into how he was really horribly picked on and all about that. Yeah, I got to make this abundantly clear. If you're a kid and you're overweight and you're that young, while it is your fault if you're overeating and eating a lot of snacks and junk food, primarily that's your parents' fault. So for all the parents out there watching this right now, if you have kids or going to be a parent one day and have kids, you got to make sure your house is full of good stuff. You can't have the cupboards full, just jam-packed full of candy and cookies and chips and crackers and crap. And you got to make sure you have good stuff in the house because the kids are just going to eat it. You got to do that as a parent. You also got to make sure that you can learn how to cook nutritious, good meals for your kids for dinner, for breakfast. I know that in school they're going to eat what they give them for lunch. But do the best you can. And nothing wrong with the occasional pizza Fridays, or trip to McDonald's, but you got to make sure. And I know people are struggling with tight budgets, but you got to find a way to help those kids. Otherwise, right here, 170 pounds at 12 years old, 5 feet tall, and believe it, that wasn't all muscle. That was a lot of blubber. Do this for your kids, parents out there. But also, as you get older, guys, you got to take responsibility yourselves if you're just inhaling garbage all the time. I have to say this. It needs to be addressed. It's really important. And if you don't know how to cook, parents out there, you're watching me on YouTube, aren't you? You can look up cooking channels. Find a way for your kids. Okay, that's it. From the former personal trainer, I got to say this shit. Anyway, and by the way, parents, if you don't take me seriously, listen what this kid goes through. Anyhow, he was not in a good place. From telling you all that, I had very low confidence and low self-esteem. I was a target for the most vicious and heinous bullying. Guys, girls, even the teachers didn't spare me. Girls and the teachers didn't spare him. He says, remember I played football with the jocks of the school. The coaches would laugh and make fun of me for being short and fat. After going through what we'd go to the showers to wash off before classes started for the day, and the kids would only make fun of me for being fat in the locker room. At times they'd steal my clothes and run off with them and hide them. Or they'd put it in places I could not reach. Many of the times I was nude and couldn't do anything about it. So you're running around with the fucking towel trying to find your goddamn clothes in the locker where these motherfuckers are hiding. Kids are so cruel. I'd always be the last one to leave the locker room to clean up because the coaches said if it was dirty, the whole team would have to do it. Mad dogs, among other things, that would make us suffer. Even though they did that to me every day, I still want to look out for them because they were on my team. So you were in the 7th grade, the low man of the totem pole, probably even picked on mostly by the 8th and 9th graders or whatever. And yeah, this is terrible. He says also, the girls were even worse. Sometimes they'd all turn around and look at me and laugh, take pictures of me, and post hurtful captions on social media about me being smelly or weird or whatnot. I remember I was near a friend of people. And this one girl was the center of the group and her friends. They were going down the row of cute guys or whatever, middle schoolers, like they do, and she was rating them, saying whether she'd kiss them or not. I'd be like, bitch, I don't want to kiss you. I wasn't even in the row, but she saw me and capitalized on the opportunity to bully me. I'll never forget she said, oh, and you, Jackson, are an 8, as in ate all the food. Oh, that's original. Following by laughter by everyone. She then said I was really a 0 and nobody would ever want to kiss me because I wasn't worth even a glance at. Followed by even more laughter. I wanted to say something back, but I was so worn down by everything that I didn't. I remember her quote-unquote boyfriend, if you want to call it that, said something about my fat ass. His girlfriend next said to him, be careful, he might eat us. All this point, everyone was getting their hits in at me, and I had no confidence or self-esteem to react or make a comeback. I just ran and hid in the bathroom. Most of the time, I'd either hide in the library or the bathroom. Most of those jocks never read, so the library was a safe place. He says the bullying didn't stop. The teachers even got in on it. My grades were slipping because I was so depressed by what was going on, and my grades plummeted. I had teachers calling me stupid and hopeless, saying they'd be surprised if I passed it and made it to the next grade. That's how bad my grades were. This is fucking terrible. Where the fuck did these assholes get off shitting on you about the whole thing? But you know what? I'll be honest with you. I went through a chubby period in the 5th and 6th grade because I was severely depressed. We moved across the country. I didn't have any friends. And I just sat on my ass and watched cartoons and ate fucking chips and Doritos and cookies all the time. And that was my parents' fault for not paying attention. It was my fault for eating all that shit, but I was also 10 and 11 years old. It was my parents' fault for constantly filling the cupboards and sitting me stuff in my face and not doing anything about it. But my mom was going through a depression too, and she herself was porking up. My parents cooked healthy meals, but I just overate and they weren't paying attention. My dad at that point wasn't paying much attention. Yeah. So I know what it's like to be chubby, not as bad as him. And I eventually lost the body fat by my 7th grade because I had a growth spurt. I went from being 5 foot tall at the beginning of 7th grade to 5'10", thank God. Riding bike with my friends because I did have friends. Lifting weights because I was tired of being a chubby little fucker. But I know what it's like to be chubby and feel like a loser and be made fun of. I also know what it's like to, because you're unhappy doing bad in school and people make it out to be like you're a dumbass, you're not going to amount to anything. I got that shit from teachers too. They were awful. Well, I had the last laugh and you will too. But yeah, this shit really screws kids up and it's terrible. But I want to say something to this guy right here and all you guys maybe out there that were picked on for whatever reason when you were young. These people that are picking on you in school, I guarantee you half of them 10 years after they graduate by their late 20s are probably all fat themselves. Guaranteed. And 20 years later, probably the majority. And aren't going anywhere in life. The former jocks probably have beer bellies by the time they're 30 years old and saggy man boobs. Probably don't have much of a job, much of an income. So all these quote-unquote cool kids that gave you this guy shit, or any of you guys out there that maybe went through this, believe me, they're not going to look so good later in life. And these teachers that shit on the students and aren't trying to help them but just shit on them, guess what? These teachers aren't exactly very happy either in their lives. Just remember that. Anyhow, this poor young guy here. But don't worry, guys. Our guy finds his strength. He says, I never told them because says here, at this point I had heard enough of everything and I didn't want to live anymore. Oh, man. See? This is the stuff that leads poor young kids to end themselves. I started planning on how I was going to end it all. Keep in mind, I was only in the 7th grade and had many more years to go, but was going to end it way too soon. My parents didn't know what was going on, but suspected something because of my grades and because of my state as a person. I never told them because I was scared and just too hurt to express it. You also probably didn't want to, you probably felt embarrassed to tell your dad and your mom that you're being picked on and all that stuff like that. I mean, seriously. When I went through a stage like that, I didn't want to say anything. What saved me, though, was a mental health survey, out of all things, that the school's counselor sent out for all the students. I filled it out honestly because I didn't think anything would come of it. One of the boxes I filled out set the alarm off was about the thoughts of ending it all. Well, about 2 days later, I got a call into the counselor's office, and she asked me about everything. So I ended up telling her everything, and she was very concerned. She ended up calling my mom, and she told her about what I had said. My mom said she knew something was up, but was stunned to hear what she had said. I got home later that day, and I remember my mom just wrapped me up in a hug and said she loved me, and we would figure this out. Well, good. Glad your mom cares. I mean, obviously she should, as well as your dad. But your mom had no idea. But I got to point out, again, if you're that overweight as a kid, mom and dad are doing something wrong. The house is too full of snack. Unless there's some genetic disorder, that you got from them. Other than that, the odds are just the house is full of a bunch of junk food and garbage, and they weren't cooking the right food for you and all that. So, My dad got home later that night, and we talked. He said he'd let me see the counseling outside of school, and he'd see what he could do to get me out of that environment. He then said that he was sorry he didn't protect me from all that. It wasn't his fault. He didn't know, but he still felt responsible for what had happened. Of course he did, because he loves you, but he didn't know. I met with a few counselors, and about a week after what happened, I was pulled out of school to be homeschooled. It helped me get out of the toxic situation, but the battle to get control of my life was years down the line. I'm going to stop and say there, because this is a teaching video. I'm not one for running from your problems, okay? But in that situation, with that middle school that he was in, it was that bad that he had to get out of there. Really, he did. Because just the damage was done. He was the kid to be picked on. They weren't ever going to stop. And it was not worth the chance of this kid being damaged further. So I got no problem with him taking him out of there, homeschooling for a few years. Because, by the way, you'll see he does go back eventually. Born again hard. Anyhow, it helped me get out of the toxic situation, but the battle to get control of my life was years down the line. From 7th to 9th grade, my weight ballooned up, and I had only grown about 2 inches in height. Bro, what is going on with the food? You said you like to do stuff athletically, so obviously just consuming all this shit. As you get older, this is more on you. I didn't take care of myself, and even though I was out of the situation, my mental health was just getting worse and worse. The only friends I had were at church, but every time I looked in the mirror, I hated what I saw. Around this time, I also got addicted to porn, and the spiral just continued. That happens to young guys that age. By the time the 9th grade rolled around, so 9th grade rolled around, you were probably about 14, turning 15. I was fat, unattractive, addicted to food, porn, and video games, and had low self-confidence. At this point, my parents were concerned and wanted me to change. Yeah, they should have been more concerned earlier. However, the only person who could truly change you is you. What really kickstarted my journey to be better was going to this church group retreat after a spring break for a weekend in April 2021. I remember seeing all the other guys in the cabin take off their shirts, and they all had six-packs, and I was too insecure to take mine off because of all the fat. Well, if this was the moment that really got you to say, I gotta make a change, okay. I remember then and there I texted my mom and I wanted to start a diet. She'd been trying to get me to try. She put me on this diet for about a month, and to make sure I stuck with it, she did it with me as well. So if you went on a diet and she did with you as well, meant she also needed to lose weight. Now we're getting somewhere here. It's a possibility that, a lot of times when you see overweight kids, so are the parents. And it isn't just because it's a genetic thing they pass down, it's because, they all eat garbage. For that, I owe her everything. After the month, I felt so good about myself, I started to go on the online gym community, which I started, and then I was lifting weights. That's awesome, man. Good for you. Look, never too late. You were young. You're 14, 15 years old in 9th grade. Good. You change how you eat. You stop overeating. You get help. You start exercising, lifting weights. It's amazing. And I might add, during that time period, in puberty, eventually the growth spurt's going to come in. That will help you with stretching it out. For the first time, I felt like I was actually worth something. That summer, between 9th and 10th grade, I went to this church camp. There I met my first love. Oh, God. I saw her and knew I had to get to know her. We talked and had some newfound confidence, and I finally got even a kiss on the cheek from her. Well, that's starting somewhere, but the kiss on the cheek is usually a friendship thing, but take what you can get. I know it's very corny, but actually for the first time felt desired by a girl. We will call her Sarah. I ended up getting her number and some pictures with her. We texted a lot, but then fell out of contact for about 6 months. In the meantime, I found a girl closer to home to click with, and we will call her Ava. Ava became my first ever girlfriend. I did everything wrong with that relationship. Well, most guys do everything wrong in the first relationship, so you're no different. But you learn from those mistakes, hopefully, and don't fuck it up as bad the second time around. But at this point, you're losing weight, you're growing, you're feeling better about yourself. Good, man. I was needy, emotional, cried, and was a wimp around her. Smack! Yeah, where'd that get you? On top of that, I put her on the pedestal. I did all the nice guy things you could ever do. She had some problems in her life at the time, which ended up breaking us up. We're very good friends now, actually, but at the time it was not meant to be, and was definitely never meant to be in a romantic relationship with her either. That's what happens when you're young. You go through girlfriends like you go through Kleenex. Well, some of us do. But you learn from them. You hope to learn from those experiences. Back to Sarah. Okay, the girl from earlier. The girl that kissed you on the cheek. Oh, the next girl. Once me and Ava broke up, me and Sarah started talking again. We FaceTime and texted every day for half a year till we could see each other at camp that summer. Church camp, huh? Right there. We texted every day for half a year. Gentlemen, where do you think that's going to go? Do you think that's going to lead to him hooking up with her and romance and all that? Or the friend zone? Take a wild guess. Texting every day. That's what friends do. At the time, I felt true love. Oh, dude, really? I was making similar mistakes at the time with Sarah as I did with Ava, but did not know any better. By the time camp rolled around, I remember seeing her for the first time in a year and gave her a big hug. I was so happy. Did you give her the hug, or did she give you the hug? I bet you went up to her and gave her the hug. I was so happy, which lasted for 5 minutes. She ended up ignoring me the whole week at camp. By Thursday, I realized she wasn't interested in me. Because she saw you nothing more than as a friend, because you behave like a friend. Gentlemen, you have a girl you like, even if she's your girlfriend, you don't text her or talk to her every day. That's what they show you in the movies. That's a one-way track to the friend zone. Let her reach out to you and keep it, you talk to her a little bit, then you got to go. You're busy. You got things going on. Act like a friend, they're going to treat you like a friend. So that night, I'm not going to lie, as I said, I cried in the back porch of the cabin. I vowed that Friday, even though it was the last day, I would make it about me and not her and give her no attention. Well, what do you know? That whole day she chased me, but I didn't give her any thought. See? Take away the attention, boom. He says, SSM, even though I didn't really go into too much detail with this girl, I was truly hurt. I thought with all this work in the gym and other things that girls would actually like me. However, I was deep in the blue pill and needed to be woken up. This was the summer between 10th and 11th grade year. So right here he said because of the gym and changing his body, because at this point, you're going to see, he finally had his growth spurt, lost a tremendous amount of body fat, is looking good. Guys, you can physically look like a jock, a Chad, a Tyrone. But if inside you're still that nice guy simp, doesn't make a difference what you look like on the outside. You can be jacked, six-pack, doesn't matter. That'll get you in the door, but the second they see how you are, boom, you got to turn them off. Right here. As soon as I got home from camp, I started trying to figure out why every girl I got would just leave me and leave me like I was trash. That's when I stumbled across the R-Pill content and channels like yours. Aha. What really not only got my game and knowledge about how women really operate, but also the mindset, because up to that point I was traumatized from my younger years and was with the very emotions based on how I thought. Well, I can understand how you were traumatized when you were young, given how horrible those girls were to you. But you can't let that impact your whole life. Then I stumbled across more channels and then USSM. Truly, these channels, along with you, gave me the new strength I didn't know I could have. I'm glad I could help. I would need it because my junior year of high school was coming up and I was returning back to public school. See? He eventually went back to school. No more homeschooling. So I'm sure that was nerve-wracking on your first day of school after everything went through in junior high. But you got your shit together. To this point, I wanted to get out of my comfort zone and get back to school and adjust to being around the pole again. So I went back, and for my whole junior year, I grinded. In school, I focused on my grades, I was going to the gym, and got a job. Good for you, man. Then I started jiu-jitsu. By senior year, I was on the wrestling team and had a major glow-up. I was 6 feet tall and 165 lean. Hey, how about that? Compared to being 5 foot tall and 170 pounds of a lot of fat when you were, 13 or whatever it was. Good for you. Obviously, the growth spurt helped, but good for you, man. And by the way, on the wrestling team and doing all that, I'm sure those same bitches that gave you a hard time in the 7th grade or whatever you went to school with, unless you went to a different district, and they were probably shocked. I went to the gym, and when wrestling season was over, I was back to jiu-jitsu. By February of my senior year, I had enlisted in the Marines at 17 and would be shipping out in August of that year. Bro, that's great, man. Look how far you've come. From what you were in junior high to now you're enlisting in the Marines. I'm so proud of you, man. This is why I do this channel, to share stories like this, give guys hope. But at that time, I was training for a mission trip to Zambia, a country in Africa that I was going to go to in late June to the middle of July that summer. You were going to go on a mission trip for your church and then go to boot camp for the Marines? Damn. We would have trainings one Wednesday a month, and I saw this girl sitting across the room from me, who we will call Katie. Here we go, the next girl you just have to fall in love with, huh? I thought Katie was very pretty, but never talked to her because, honestly, I was more focused on playing sports, earning some money, and graduating. Well, good. That's what it should be. However, I knew later that summer I'd get to know her on that trip. Apparently, she was eyeing me too. Well, we went on the trip, and on the trip, we fell in love. Smack! No, you didn't. You fell in infatuation. I remember on the last day of the trip, before we flew back to America, telling her how I felt and how nervous I felt doing it too. Smack! Who started that conversation about feelings, you or her? Pouring your feelings out. Yeah, where's that going to get you? She said she liked me back in the moment. And we got back to the USA, we started to make plans to see each other. Katie and her church went to this church camp, so she invited me. I ended up going and met a lot of good people there. I also met all the adults in Katie's life, and they loved me. It seemed like everything was aligning. Well, maybe in that short period of time, things are going well, until you start doing the same things that causes a big mess in your other short-term relationships. Even though you claim during this time you're watching R-Pill content and me, we're going to see one ear out the other when it comes to a girl you like. Now you're about to smack me, and I deserve it, so here we go. I ended up making her my world and fell head over heels for her. Smack! Every time you do that, you fuck everything up. My parents and best friend were trying to warn me about doing this, but I was too stupid to listen. You're off to fucking Marine Corps training pretty soon. This is the last thing you need messing you up. Some chick. However, everything was going well until the week she moved to college. Here we go. Don't do long-distance relationships. Which was about 2 weeks before I shipped out to boot camp. She started acting more distant and texted hardly ever, even when I reached out every day, so yes, I know smack. Yeah, smack. You're reaching out every day? You're not acting confident and strong, you're acting needy and clingy. The opposite of masculine energy, and that's going to turn any girl off. But we're not done. Remember, guys, I'm doing this to help this guy so we can all learn. I begged her to FaceTime me, but she was always too busy. Yes, I know smack. My parents and best friend tried to warn me, but I was, again, too stupid to stop and think. She kept putting me off until the night I shipped out to boot camp. The only reason she actually called me was because I begged and pleaded with her, so yeah, I know smack. Yeah, smack. Does any of this sound like masculine energy to you? Does any of this, what you're doing, the constantly bombarding her with texts and attention and begging her to talk to you, does that sound like the type of guy, if you were a girl, would you find this attractive? Fuck no. That would turn you off if you were a girl. I don't blame her for being turned off by this whole thing. I mean, seriously, man. Your problem is, the second you start really liking a girl, you stop being the guy who you are in terms of the good qualities, and you just go nuts. You act like this, you're going to turn off every single woman that initially liked you, dude. When she went off to college, that should have been it. You should have broken up, parted ways in good terms. That was the end of it. End of story. The long distance don't work, and you're off to the Marines. You don't need that on your mind, for goodness sake. But the problem is that you made her your whole world. And by the way, at the end of this video, I'm going to address what I'm pretty sure is the problem you have with women, so you can stop having this bad cycle, my man. Seriously. But you should have been acting that way. Again, that behavior is going to turn any girl off. I don't care how. I bet you a lot of girls that probably you met and will meet in the future, if you behave like this, they'll like you initially, but you start behaving like this, it'll repulse them. Come on, dude. And it's a shame that I put in all this effort, because what comes next broke me. We ended up calling, and I asked what we were. Yeah, I know, smack. I know I'm making all the mistakes after supposedly watching your content and other people's content. I was about to say that you've been watching me for a few years, and I'm glad I helped you in some areas and other channels, but you're behaving like this. This goes to show you guys, it's one thing to listen to this stuff and hear it all the time. It's another thing when you try to put into practice. And asking her where we are. That's what women do. Women ask guys, where do we stand? Where are things going? What's the future? That type of shit. I know fucking better. However, I was hoping the R pill would be wrong this one time. The R pill's never wrong, dude. Boy, was I just stupid. So I asked Katie where we were, and she told me just friends. Ouch. You can see that coming a mile away. You completely just turned her off so much, that's it. We're friends. She said she's not liked me for a while, but didn't want to hurt me by ending things. Yeah, you were probably, as time went on, her attraction was dropping, and your attraction was going up by how you were behaving. That didn't make any sense because everything was fine until she moved into college, which I later found out there was another guy in the picture. Aha! There you go. I'm willing to bet she probably liked you initially, but then you started becoming obsessed with her, but she still stayed with you, and then she started with the other guy. But regardless, yeah, she's an asshole for doing that, but still, you didn't help your situation. But it only been 2 weeks since things got weird. She basically attempted to leave me in because she liked the attention and validation I gave her for free. She then said these words that forever stuck with me and motivates me to this day. She says, "I know when I like one and you're just not it." Ouch. I remember hearing those words and felt the most worthless I ever felt. The night before I went to boot camp as well. Yeah, this is the last shit you need before you go to boot camp. But you know what? Boot camp, when you have your freaking drill instructor screaming at you, you'll need that. She then clearly realized she messed up by saying so she started buttering me up by saying how much of a great guy I was and whatever. I then wished her well and hung up on her. Well, good for hanging up on her. Yeah, she realized, I'm going too far here. But you're such a great guy. You're the guy that every girl wants to marry. Except me. I was crushed and felt so worthless. My best friend was there and he had my back. Good, he's a loyal bro. He told me we had to hit the gym, so at 12 o'clock we hit the gym and I hit it hard. Right before you go to boot camp and have to do all this running and push-ups and shit. I was too defeated, but my best friend said I wasn't out yet. I could prove her wrong and show her what she was about to miss. But I was defeated and just wanted her back. Yeah, I know, smack. Yeah, smack. You're not going to get her back. Not behaving like that. And guess what? Girl dumps you. That's it. You don't go try and chase and getting her back. I ended up shipping out the next day, and for the next 13 weeks, I went through hell. I'm sure you did, man. And I have mad respect for you for going through this. Not only that, I was heartbroken. For the first month, I thought about quitting. But when I thought about going home to my parents and my dad a failure, that could not happen. Bro, I'm sure plenty of guys have went through the training and thought about quitting too, but they did not. And whatever it took to motivate you, to push you through every day, do the running, do the push-ups, do the fucking pull-ups, being screamed at, all that, broken down, rebuilt hard. Visualize that. And all you guys out there going through tough times and trying to go through some crazy, grueling, enduring process. Picture all the things you want to get revenge at for. You can picture all those girls making fun of you in junior high, those jocks making fun of you, those teachers saying you weren't going to amount to anything. Whatever it took to push you. But every day was a struggle, from the yelling from the drill instructors to the food and sleep deprivation. I then got the motivation, if I became a Marine, I could win Katie back. Smack! No, more like she should win you back. You'll be a badass Marine. But it doesn't make a difference you're a badass Marine if you still have all the fucking weakness inside in terms of, how you behaving towards girls. It won't matter. However, after that month of being depressed, I got a letter from my parents and my best friend, and they said I was strong and I'd get through this. Those letters came at the right time. My best friend said, forget that bitch, and I could do better. My mom's letter was I needed to focus on becoming a Marine and showing her what she missed out on. So then my motivation was to make my parents proud and to show Katie what she was going to miss out on. Well, I want you to become a Marine and go through that and make it through for you, not for some chick. But if that's what it took to help you get through it, fine. I ended up making it through the boot camp. Congratulations, bro. I later found out that she was talking to another guy while talking to me, and she's dating that guy now. He's a soy boy-looking dude, so she really chose that guy over Marie. She still views my stories on social media, so if things don't work out with him, she'll probably be back. She will probably be back, because by then, at least physically on the outside, you look like you transformed, amongst many other things. But you said she's with some soy boy-looking dude, and that she chose him over a Marine. Well, he may be a soy boy looking on the outside, but I bet he probably didn't behave like you did and wasn't turning her off, so she's naturally going to go to the more masculine guy. Think about it. So you need to be as tough on the inside and handle yourself like a man as you are on the outside. Doesn't make a difference what you look like on the outside. If you're that sip nice guy in your behavior and your personality, just got to turn them off. So as for me, I'm focusing on being a Marine. I volunteered for Marine Recon, which is like the Marines version of Navy SEALs or Army Rangers. So I'm going through that training as of right now. Just trying to stack cash away and invest it as well. I hope to be a Recon Marine by May of this year, 2025. That's awesome, bro. Keep going. Keep pushing. As for dating, I don't have any interest in dating because that's a waste of time. And to be honest, after Katie, I really need to build myself up so I don't fall for a girl like that again. Yes, you're learning. Good. Focus on you. What you do right now is going to determine the rest of your life, and you're on the right path. But you got to work on that shit as to what causes you to get that way when it comes to a girl you like. You fuck everything up, and I'll get to that in a minute. One day a girl might come to me, but right now I'm focused on being a Recon Marine and making it through the training. Good, that's your full focus and purpose. He says, SSM, you helped change my life, and I hope your channel grows to help more people like me. Semper Fi, brother. Bro, that was a great story. I know not everybody's going to like it because they're not going to like to hear all the stuff that you messed up in, but you know what? Too bad. You're a young guy. You had to learn, but I'm just so impressed how what you've gone through as a kid and still kept persevering and where you are now. That is awesome. It was only 5 or 6 years ago that you were being just ruthlessly made fun of by all those kids in school, overweight, unhappy, depressed, and you took action. That's a lot of things most people don't do, and that's awesome. And that is was going to drive you ahead to have a lot of great success in life, you know? And I stand by what I said about obviously you were overweight because of the food thing. It had to be, unless there's some genetic thing. But then again, you grew and you lost the weight, and that's awesome. But you got to have good food in the house, gentlemen. If you right now you're watching this and you got a house full of snacks and junk food and you don't control it, beer, sweets, all that crap, and processed food, get it the fuck out of there for yourself and your kids. Learn to cook healthy stuff. There's nothing wrong with the occasional treat. I like a pizza every now and again, the occasional beer, but by and large, it's healthy, good food and exercise. Do that for your kids, parents out there. And you young guys out there, no excuse either. Start taking care of yourself. But putting that aside, you did a great job, my man. But let's focus on what the fuck is going on with these girls. Yes, we're in Sodom and Gomorrah 2.0. Not going to deny that. Yes, dating is terrible. Yes, gals are all the things we learned about worse than ever. But at the end of the day, man, you weren't helping your situation because every single time a girl you really like, boom, you made her out to be, you just take one look at her and all of a sudden you're seeing fucking stars and fireworks are going off and rainbows and shit and you're falling in love with a girl. I mean, come on, dude, that's stupid movie shit. Well, let's dig deep why you do that. I'm convinced you do that is because of during those very important years when you were a young guy, 11, 12, 13, 14, when you obviously felt like shit about yourself and just wanted to be loved, let's be honest here. You were horribly made fun of and all that. So now you're looking for some girl to love you, right? So you find some girl that remotely likes you and just boom, and you just smother her. You put her like on the pedestal, like she's the greatest thing ever. Bombard her with attention because you want to, you know, and you go too far and you smother her and you turn her off. And when things don't go the way you want, obviously you then over pursue. I'm sure all these girls, you bombard them with texts all the time and communication, and they perceive that as being needy and clingy and weak, and that will turn off any woman. I don't care if you're a badass Marine, 6 foot tall, great shape, and can kick some ass. Doesn't matter. That's going to turn them off. Confident, masculine men don't behave the way you were behaving. So literally, you need to do the opposite of what you've been doing the next time you meet a gal. I'm sure during your years as a teenager that there were girls that liked you that you weren't into. And you were probably, because you're in school, so you're going to be around other girls or on the job. And because you weren't into them, because you probably weren't attracted to them, you behaved like yourself. And they probably liked you. And you probably didn't know that. And because you weren't clingy or needy or kissing their ass and chasing after them, they liked you. So you need to learn how eventually it's going to take time to treat the ones you don't like treat the ones you like the ones you don't like. It's amazing. So you need to really dig down as why is it that I just have to, I find these girls and I go so overboard. I'm convinced it's because you are trying to make up for the lack of love and what you didn't have when you were younger. You figure that out, then you'll solve the problem as to why you do this and just go overboard on these girls that show the slight bit of attention to you. And I'm sure this goes for a lot of guys out there that do the same thing. But now that you are doing well for yourself, you can now have the self-confidence that can help you. And that way you won't attract some of these wrong girls in your life and start handling yourself the right way. But it's going to take time, man. You can listen to all this material all you want till your eardrums burst. But it's not going to matter until you start putting these things you learn into practice. And it will take time, but you're going to be okay. And I don't want you to be that Marine who we talk about in these stories, who then finds some girl, marries her when you're in freaking, when you're as a soldier, and then you get deployed and she's cheating on you. And I can see you doing that if you're not careful, because you'll finally get a girl that really likes you and treats you that way. And next, I got to marry her. And you're just like one of these guys in these stories. So don't you fucking do that. So keep doing what you got to do so you can get to where you want to be in the next few months. And then go from there and figure out what you want to do with your life. And I think you're going to be on a great path. You just got to fix this shit with the girls. Because if you don't, I don't care how badass you are and tough you are, you're going to keep messing up. And you don't want to feel that hurt anymore. So that's what I have to say. That's my only criticism towards you. And I hope other guys can learn from that, because let's be honest, a hell of a lot of guys make the same mistakes. You dig down deep to find out why it is you fall in love so hard and you got to make that girl your girl and want her to love you so much. Why that is. You figure that out, that's going to help you. And then you fix everything else and just simply treat the ones you like the ones you don't like. You'd be amazed what happens. That's it. End of story. Otherwise, the same shit's going to keep happening. But other than that, you're doing great. You're a great success story. I'm proud of you. I'm sure your parents are proud of you. And I guarantee that girl, Katie, who I don't blame her, I don't like the way that she was talking to some other dude. That ain't cool. She's an asshole for that. But I can't blame her based on how you were behaving for eventually rejecting you and friend zoning you. I don't blame her because you went off too far. And I'm sure if you were calm and rational and thinking about it, you can't blame her either. So don't ever act like that again. But anyhow, I guarantee you she'll be back. I guarantee you down the road, when she probably sees on social media how you look, how you act and all that, probably pictures of you with other girls one day, she and other ones will be back. Because they always come back. But don't take her back. Don't take the ones that dumped you back ever, ever, ever. All right, guys, that's it for today. Be sure to comment down below. Let me know what you think about this. Give this guy a shout out. Congratulations for surviving what he's gone through, and give him some support on his journey into life. I really hope. It's like this. He went through all this hell when he was young and was able to learn all these things at 18 years old. Can you imagine how great of a place he's going to be if he does things right in the years to come? Really. He's going to be light years ahead of most people. So I'm really, really impressed. And be sure to like the video, share with your friends, and subscribe. I'll catch you next time.